Pretty simple. They start acting up against you and pushing you around. You have a right to defend yourself. It's pretty simple. As far as I drive around with an InfoWars sticker on the back of my truck, and it has an inside 9/11's inside job. You would not believe how many police officers, they come up to me, and they don't pull me over. They kind of, hide in the shadows, and then when I pull over, like to Home Depot or whatever, they literally get out of their car and come talk to me. And it's great, because I'd say 80% of them are right along with what you say. I mean, they're very much aware of it. But what I find interesting is they get out of their car, they get away from their car, and then they come talk to me. They don't do it in front of the car like if I was getting pulled over or something.
Well, that's wonderful news, and I appreciate your call, Jim. I will say this. I learn new things all the time. The old adage is, the more wisdom you have, the more you know you don't know. And I will state it again as I did last hour. I more and more realize the mistakes I've made in decade plus, going back to 15 years that I've been on the radio. And one of the biggest ones is just out of hand at a primitive level, seeing police as the representatives of this oppressing system and beating not a war drum, but a anger drum at the police. And then what that does is that makes the police compact more into their little cult system, and then they start pulling away from the public. The public sees that change in attitude. We pull more away from them, and then the system, the feds, the globalists, they get what they want. A bunch of compartmentalized citizens and police who happen to be citizens as well. And yes, I have been blown away by how much information police give me, how many police come over and shake my hand who are listeners, even though sometimes the show comes off as if I am adversarial towards police. They still see through all of that and despite that, and are sophisticated enough to understand that I'm for real and that this information is real. And they're investigators. They have gone and looked at the claims I've made. They found out it's true. And I always oversimplify. When you go research what I'm saying, you're going to find out in almost every case, it's light years worse than I can even explain to people. That's so much of the time now, I am so frustrated by this and so sick of it. And there seems like there's no way to get out of it. And it just gets more and more crazy. But then I understand that's a psychological tactic. It's a psychological tactic of the establishment to act crazy, to act wild, to act over the top, to act domineering and absurd, so that we just kind of get overwhelmed and get conditioned to accept anything. No, I'm not accepting tyranny anymore. I'm done. I'm done. And I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to tell it like it is. And truth is greater than lies. And the pen is mightier than the sword. If you will simply take action and warn and inform people about what's going down and what's happening, there's no way they're going to succeed. That's why they're rushing to shut down the internet right now and finally openly sending up trial balloons to sell you on it and moving ahead with the control grid they've already built to do it. Under cybersecurity 3 years ago, it's already in place. They're now just trying to get the laws in place to authorize it. And they will launch false flags on the web as the pretext to take control of it. And they won't shut it down overnight. They'll say, oh, we just shut it down for a few days to protect it and to save it. And then, see, we turned it back on. And then people say, well, see, the government, those of you that complained about it, the government saved the internet. I mean, I know how their brains work. And so that's all coming. That's all going to happen. In fact, let me cover a few of these news items, and then we're going to go back to your calls here. Here's an article that's the top story on prisonplanet.com. This just came out in the last hour. Cybersecurity measures will mandate government ID tokens to use the internet. The move to shut down and regulate the internet under a new governmental control system has accelerated into high gear with an announcement that the government cybersecurity strategy revolves around issuing internet users with ID tokens without which they will not be able to visit websites. The latest salvo against web freedom, which in combination with Senator Joe Lieberman's kill switch bill, will serve to eviscerate the free internet as we know it. Under the guise of cybersecurity, the government is moving to discredit and shut down the existing internet infrastructure in pursuit of a new centralized regulated World Wide Web. And then we have links to all their claims, all their statements, how they're openly have already hired armies of paid disinformation agents on the web, the Pentagon, the State Department. In fact, Tyrell Ventura sent me a text message the other day and said, have you seen this? And I had seen it, but I'd never covered it. So before I forget, I'm going to go to Tyrell's text message here, but don't show the phone because it's got his phone number on here. And I'm going to click on this. It's america.gov conspiracy theories HTML. Here, Jaron, I'm just going to give you my iPhone with this page pulled up. And I want to pull this up on screen for people. Thanks a lot. But yes, I was aware of it, but I'm glad somebody reminded me of it because so much of what I see and read and study, I never even end up getting to. I mean, that's why I keep saying over and over again, I'm frustrated because people are thinking I'm making stuff up or exaggerating. It's the opposite, okay? I mean, you've got to research this for yourself, is what I'm trying to say. In the movie The Matrix, Morpheus tells Neo, look, I can't tell you what the Matrix is. You got to see it for yourself. But it's the world that's pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth, that you're a slave, Neo. And, of course, we're not really in a Matrix like that. We're more in a Truman Show. But the Pentagon says 30 years ago they want to build a Matrix. And the Pentagon describes in a declassified report from the 70s, declassified in January of 2000. See, I don't even want to say this on air because it's an actual Army report, but people wouldn't believe it. They say they want to put you in tanks like in the Matrix movie, and then that will be peace. Global peace is everyone in tanks with wires hooked into their heads in a new virtual reality with the ruling elite above us, and they're going to use it as an energy source. I mean, the movie Matrix is just throwing in your face what they plan. And the average person watches TV, plays with video games all day. All they do is sit there and watch television. Your eyes actually interfacing with it, which, of course, the sight centers are in the back of the brain, so the figuratively jacking you in. And you're being inserted into the Matrix right now, and all these top futurists and scientists and Ray Kurzweil say within 10 years, if you want a job, you'll have to have the brain chip. They already make the Mexican Attorney General's employees take implantable chips. And whether they're going to be able to do it or not, the point is the Pentagon and people are theorizing about these type of things and the type of world they want to build because there will be no more war. There will only be peace when you're all prisoners of the Matrix. There it is. America.gov. And after all, you can't be against America. Conspiracy theories and misinformation. And they tell you that all vaccines are good for you and there's never a problem, even though it's on the news every day, it's killing people. And they tell you that September 11th wasn't an inside job. And they tell you it's a misconception that the U.S. doesn't like Islam. And they tell you it's a misconception that the bankers are ripping you off. You know, Madoff really is a good guy. And, I mean, this is an official propaganda channel. And imagine, we've got the Pentagon openly saying that I watched Clark in testimony from last week say, the head of cybersecurity of Cybercom, say that we are the four branches of the military, we are operating domestically, and we are taking over the internet to protect it. Kind of like the mafia is going to, oh, why don't you put my cousin Luigi in your grocery store, and then there won't be any fires. Because that's how you pay for the insurance. He'll look out for fires. But if you don't give him a full-time job, he won't be here, but you'll send him the money once a week. He'll drop by and get it. If you don't do that, there's going to be a fire. If you don't let us run the internet and shut it off and get rid of those conspiracy theorists, there's going to be a little fire, and the internet's going to get destroyed by the Chinese that we're in business with. And so you need to let us run things now. You need to let us run things now, or there's going to be a big, big problem out there. You understand that? And so we're going to take over the internet now. We're going to watch what you watch. We need to keep an eye on you. Hey, yeah. Going to be watching everything you do. Big Sister Kagan going to be up there. Going to be watching you. After all, the Supreme Court says we can disappear your speech. And we got legislation introduced to disappear you physically, like Jimmy Hoffa. That's freedom. Land of the slave, home of the cowards.